I hate to go back to the whole AI thing, but it's really real. And I lived through, so when I started in this business, we hand typed, actually there was a typing pool on the second floor of the company that I worked for, and they would crank out your memos, and we would put them in a FedEx envelope and send them to the client, or we would fax them. And so if you think about, I don't know what that was, let's just call it 1981 to today, we're going to see, and not to mention an email or what have you, and how far we've come. We're going to see that kind of change in the next 5 years. I mean, it's going to be exponential in terms of the change that I think we're going to see. Certainly from a marketing standpoint, I think as, just as regular consumers, it is going to be profound. And I think it's going to affect, the marketing business, financial services business, medicine. I can't wait to see. So, what's next? Nothing but hope on the horizon. It's going to be fantastic.
Well, I think with that is what's your ability to pivot? Because like one of the things that I'm, even with our business here, is recognizing AI, recognizing that there is a race to the bottom on certain level of service. So I've chosen not to race to the bottom, but instead race to the top. Whereas like, hey, let's cater explicitly to more of an executive profile of people, where they expect high quality cameras, multi-camera aspect, versus like, hey, let me just do a cell phone and get AI to do it. Because like I don't know how you build a business on a service that costs $50 to $100 an hour and have multiple people. So, and I bring that up only because it's like that's what we're doing at Harper Belmont is, pivoting up because of things like people pivoting down. And maybe it's not even pivoting down, but just utilizing AI and utilizing cheap labor and because there is a barrier to entry on the type of service that we're doing, like right here, is like we've got cameras, we've got lighting, we've got professional audio. You can't do that with a cell phone. You can do something comparable, but it's not going to look as good as this. It's not going to sound as good as this. So I bring that all to say, not just to plug my company, but just to like, hey, you have to be able to pivot with whatever the market is showing you. And like you said earlier, sometimes you're wrong, sometimes you're right. What are you doing at Imaginunity to pivot?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, we already pivoted. So we were, I'm going to tell you a quick story. We were on AI just slightly before AI got cool. Okay, we brought in a significant talent. I mean, so back to your point earlier about whether if it's $500 or $5,000 or $500,000, expensive talent that understands language and AI and all those kinds of things to get out ahead of it. So for us, it's already pivoted. Now I'll tell you a funny story. So we JLL, the commercial real estate management company, is a large client of ours. And we developed an AI influencer called Cindy, and you owe it to yourself to go look her up. My wife's not not line involved in the business at all, but she knows Ryan and she knows Evan and these guys, these folks at my office. She knows who the key Savage players are that we talked about, right? And next thing you know, so we launched Cindy, and my wife says, "Who's this Cindy?" Sees the video. "Who's this Cindy?" And I said, "Honey, Cindy's not real." So, I tell you all that because, I don't know what, this was last year. We've already developed influencers, as just one small aspect. And it was so real, Cindy was so real, that we had to pull it back so that we weren't like out there presenting this as this is a real human being. In our data work, it's phenomenal. So we've got predictive models on who's more likely to buy something than not buy something. And what's important about this is not the predictive model. Predictive models are not new. Predictive models in a month is new, right? So it's not that this is something that's never been done before, and at least in this particular, Cindy was, I think, something that hadn't been done before. But on these models, it's just the fact that we're able to do something that would have taken a computer a year to do, that I'm doing in now 6 weeks, or or what have you. So I think it's really profound in terms of the change that we're going to see, and kind of the what's next, and how do you pivot, right? So I would think in your business, because I've already seen an AI version of this. I think you're right. It's not going to, the cameras and the cameramen and those types of things aren't necessarily going to change. But I think there's probably some applications like we were talking about earlier on my SEO, where you can do 5 edits in the time that you used to do 1 edit, allowing you to scale your business more. Same talent, right? The same excellent talent, but now you're able to do 5 shows in the time that you were able to do 1 show, right? And I've already seen some of that technology, because we're using it to develop reports. So it behaves a little bit like a podcast, where there's different announcers and that kind of thing, and they're delivering a report, and it's all automated. So it's pretty cool. I expect what's next. I expect my business will change more in the next 5 years than it changed in the last 40 years for me. It'll change more in the next 5 years than it did 40 years.